All right, so this week we watched M. Night Shyamalan's newest film, Knock at the Cabin.
We means me and Noah, because Edward didn't watch it.
No, he was stinky and busy this week. But Knock at the Cabin is based on the novel The Cabin at the End of the World, starring Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, and Ben Aldridge, just to name a few. Give a quick synopsis. While vacationing at a remote cabin in the woods, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by four armed strangers who demand they make an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. Confused, scared, and with limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. So, initial thoughts, Anthony. Non-spoiler, of course, real quick.
I will say that for the most part, is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You can expect exactly what you get from the trailer. Like, the trailer is a pretty dead-on representation of what the movie is, too.
Yeah, the trailer sets out to set the tone, set the premise of the movie, and it does get into it pretty quick and right away. Like Anthony said, it's pretty simple. I feel like it's not necessarily a twist, I would say, because to me, I thought it was fairly obvious. Maybe others don't, but I thought it was obvious. And then at times, the writing is a little bit shoddy. But
there are still things that you don't necessarily expect, or I guess some things that happen that you just didn't see coming into the movie, but nothing like huge.
It does do a great job at being very suspenseful, because since the apocalypse is coming, that's kind of like the deadline they have.
Right.
Like it's a ticking clock, running clock going until the apocalypse. And I do think it is based on the book, but I also think in general it's just kind of a unique concept that really has you debating whether certain character choices were right or wrong.
And it all takes place in, for the most part, one room, honestly.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I think it did that really, really well. Like,
yeah, I was actually coming into the movie, I was actually kind of afraid it was going to suffer because it was in one location.
Right. But
I thought
did really well on that.
And I thought there'd be a lot of unnecessary dialogue or banter because they need to kill time, but overall there really wasn't. There's a few flashback scenes I would have taken out, but other than that, I thought it was pretty solid. And if you're there for Dave Bautista, he doesn't disappoint. This is probably one of his best performances. He's growing by the day.
He talks about how he wants to get away from action roles and take on a more serious role, and he did that really well in this movie.
He's showing that he can do that, yeah. And not to take away anything from any of the other, because in my opinion, the other performances were great. Like they did a good job for what they had for in those roles. They weren't as big as Dave Bautista's role, but everyone played their part. It was a great cast.
I will say I also like the writing as far as making everyone seem human and everyone was connected. It's not these monsters going up. They're like actual people, they're just regular people. None of them want to be there. None of them want to be in the situation, but they're all in the situation together.
And I guess we can go ahead and say this because it's not necessarily a spoiler. It was in the trailers, and it's kind of why you'd go and watch this movie is because they have to make a choice whether the strangers go to this cabin to kidnap a family of three.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Not kidnap, but to kind of hold them hostage, a family of three, and basically tell them if one of y'all doesn't die, if one of y'all doesn't choose who to die in your family, then humanity's gonna die, the apocalypse is gonna happen. That's the whole choice, and it really, he said, it humanizes them, and it makes you think about the decision yourself because even the strangers are humanized. You're trying to decide if they're right or wrong. The whole movie.
And I also think what it did really well is that it showed almost a flaw in the stranger's plan, I guess. It kind of made you think oh, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this is fake, because the movie pointed out or one of the characters pointed out this is why it's fake. This is why what they're telling isn't true. But then they also, because of the writing, they seem so human. They seem like they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to do any of that. So it was also like, well, they seem genuine, so I think it is true. But then he's saying that it's not true, and it's kind of hard to tell in some points.
And there's even some points where like it's like, oh, it's just a coincidence that some things
Right.
are happening around the world.
And I will say there were a couple times where I was convinced of one thing, and then in reality, it was another.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. And that's just it's kind of peak Shyamalan in what he does in a lot of movies. I know he's been hit or miss with his other films, but me personally, I would say this is a film worth looking at from his track record, his filmography. I'd recommend, honestly, at least once.
I also think I just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
I don't know. You were going to recommend it.
Oh, hold on. I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, this movie wasn't very long. What was it, like an hour and a half?
Yeah, it's about.
Maybe.
It's pretty short. Yeah.
I feel like this could have been a 2-hour movie if they gave. I wish there's a little bit more background, a little bit more knowledge. I know part of the movie was that you didn't know anything. It was kind of mysterious in that aspect, but I also feel like they could have done more.
I thought it did just enough.
I think they tried with the flashbacks, but because the flashbacks weren't enough, to me, I'd rather have them have either taken it out or added more.
I could see maybe 10 more minutes or 15. I don't think I could do a whole another more 30 minutes. I feel like it'd be a lot of filler. But yeah, I agree to an extent.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say that's not a spoiler, so. You recommend? You ready to go?
I will say, what's his name?
Who?
The redhead?
Oh, Mr. Ron Weasley, Rupert Grint.
Yeah, Rupert Grint. I feel like he did pretty good too. I forgot he was in the movie, and there's one part where he showed up, and I was just like so surprised. I was not expecting him.
I'm really happy for him that he got a role like this.
Yeah,
because you don't see him in much nowadays.
Yeah, I feel like he's mostly in like comedies now.
I think this suits him. Serious roles like this.
Yeah, no, I liked it.
I liked it. Yeah.
I would recommend.
So definitely. 2 out of 2 hooligans recommend. Edward has no say this week, so that means 100%. We're gonna get into spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to go watch it now. This is strictly our opinion, so your opinion may change. Go and see it for yourself. And if you have seen it, or if you're not gonna see it and you don't care about spoilers, then just stay tuned because we're gonna get in spoilers right now. Make sure there's links in the description and all that for all of our stuff. And make sure you subscribe, hit the bell if you're on YouTube, and subscribe on any of the podcast platforms so you can not miss an episode. And we'll see you later if you're not coming back, but we're going to spoilers right now.
I can't believe that little girl stabbed Dave Bautista in the neck.
Let's go! You continued it for Edward. That's awesome. Yeah, he deserved it though. Just kidding. Let's talk about
give me your overall thought. I know you kind of said it in the spoiler free, but what do you think?
I think, and don't take this the wrong way for anyone that worked on this film, I just feel like at the end of the day, it didn't accomplish a whole lot. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like, it was just like, it was a solid premise, solid enough to be a movie.
Right.
If that makes sense. That's my general consensus.
The way I was thinking about it,
detailed.
Because it was simple, it could have used a twist. Like, if the whole thing was fake, that would be a crazy twist. But I also enjoyed seeing the actual end of the world. Like, I thought that was really cool. That
would have been. It's funny because I was like, that's why the whole decision contemplating thing is just like, yeah, because at a point I'm just like, what if it is fake? And they're just like messing with them.
Dude,
like, they are a cult.
When I saw it pre-recorded, I was like, oh, the whole thing's fake.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, this like they're really gonna kill one of the family members, and it's gonna be fake. And then like the whole Leonard, whatever the cult leader, is just gonna be like, all right, my job's done. Like it's gonna be like some like ancient
Yeah.
ritual or something they had to do for their like cult. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that'd be insane. But even then, well, I guess this is well, actually, I said all my cons already. If you have any more,
Um, I think I mostly said all my cons. I'm just torn about. I wanted it to be more complicated, but I enjoyed the simplicity. So it's like,
yeah, I think it's because he has a track record of being complicated, like with this twist and stuff. You're always trying to figure out the twist.
all right,
So now that he like is basing this off of that one book, and it's just not as complicated, it's kind of like, oh, I wanted a little bit more. I was expecting more, but like you said, it's nothing wrong with that.
um, yeah, I guess this isn't a con, but the only room for improvement, or I guess not even, I don't know how to say it. I just wish there was a little more background of either the characters so that we can feel more emotionally connected to them. Because when Rupert died, like, yes, I felt bad for him because he's a normal person, but we didn't really know anything about his life. So I didn't really feel that death. You know what I mean? So I felt
Yeah, that's fair. It did come pretty fast.
even the parents and the daughter. There was some background, but it wasn't enough.
Mhm.
So either more time in character development or more time discussing why those people have to pick or showing the visions that they saw. You know what I mean? Like just something. It just seemed
Yeah,
a little empty at times.
yeah, and I think like because was it Eric that got the visions? One of the people, one of the
They all got visions.
well, the strangers did. I'm talking about one of the people.
Oh yeah, I don't think he had a vision, so to say, but
He saw something though.
something.
He like is like all world seeing eye. But I appreciated there was a little bit of jokes in there. I appreciated some of the jokes they added in there.
Yeah.
Like they were self aware of like this sounds insane, like this is crazy, like we shouldn't believe this. I also like
Is like they had no idea what they were doing. They've never done this before. So they were getting their butt kicked, right? Like in the beginning when they broke into the house. Because they've never like done that before. They never fought people, they've never subdued someone. That's why that guy got a concussion, because they're not pros at it. And they know how crazy they sound, and somehow they still have to convince these people. And it showed the struggle of like how hard it would be to convince someone, you know?
it is also it like he said earlier, it really humanized them. Like the strangers each have like their own lives. They all come from different states. They literally only met because of a vision, and they didn't even think they were going to meet. They're just like, oh, my vision says to go here, so I'm going to go here. And then all of a sudden, there's
And
three other strangers they meet.
Themselves too.
Yeah, I love how like that goes back to the humanizing thing. I love how they tried to not be strangers. Like they're like, I know this is scary. I know you're not going to believe me, so I'm going to tell you like almost everything about me. Like I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm here,
Right.
who I am, what I'm doing. So if anything goes wrong, you know.
And they kept going back to the daughter. Was her name Wes?
When? Yeah.
Keep going back to her because I feel like that was like the connection point. Like that's where they made the connection, is with the daughter.
Shout out to the actress Kristen Hugh. I actually read that's her first acting gig.
Really? Dang.
Yeah.
She
So
did pretty good then.
good for her. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it did. That whole thing was really good.
And even like I loved how the couple Eric and Andrew, I love how they tried to make sense of everything. Like they're not stupid.
Yeah.
And what was sad, because like this does happen in real life and it's unfortunate, is like they are a gay couple, and so their first thought was like, we're being targeted, like we're like they're just trying to kill us because we're a part of the LGBT, which is like it's a sad reality, and like but they're like self-aware enough to even to think that's happening. And then the strangers are just like, like, no, it's not targeting. It just it brings this whole mass hysteria and it's just chaos. Like you don't know what to believe, what decision they're gonna make, and the back to the whole humanity thing too is if you were in this situation, what decision would you make? Like, because it's crazy to think about that. Because like picking my family or 7 billion people, like it's pretty crazy.
Not even that easy of a decision because it's picking my family or
people I love, people I don't know.
You know, it could not even be real.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Just
imagine if they believed him off the spot and then they're like, oh, haha, just kidding.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Like, would you sacrifice someone in your own family based on something you don't even know is true?
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's unfortunate, but yeah, I would like filmmaking wise, like with the cinematography stuff. I really like the lighting they used in the framework for every shot that they did. I thought it was like very appealing to the eye, even though it wasn't just like one place. And what I got out of it was like the message of like humanity can be very naive, selfish,
right.
like taking the morals of belief in something and like the doubt of it. And like how you can doubt. It's kind of like in a way like doubting belief in something.
Right.
And like I don't know if they meant to do it like with like faith based or anything, but it's kind of what I took out a little bit.
I don't know. I just think it was a really interesting story. Like the whole time I was really invested and interested. I was like,
it kept you on the edge of your
I
seat.
need to know if it's real. I need, you know. And they also did the
Absolutely.
suspense really well, like you said.
Absolutely. I agree.
There were times where I was on the edge of my seat.
Um
The plot twist I was talking about earlier, it's not really a plot twist, but when they each had to kill the other people,
oh yeah.
that was crazy. I did not expect that at all.
What made me sad is seeing when Adrian talking about having a son. She's like begging them. And then like
please.
She does it, and what's funny is I can tell by her sympathy and stuff. I was like, I bet she does have a son. Like,
yeah,
I feel like she wasn't lying about that, and she wasn't, sadly. But what made it worse too, with the whole decision thing, like how we're like contemplating the throne out, is whenever like Andrew recognized Redmond and was like, "You're the guy that like assaulted me," and I was like, "Oh, that's not good." Like, oh no, like that's kind of crazy. It's a coincidence, but yeah, it's insane. And then. Okay, here's a funny story. So this is not intentional. So when I was watching the movie with a couple friends, the 4 strangers showed up. They start talking about the apocalypse and whatnot. I literally am like, I said it kind of quiet, like I didn't like say it to a friend, but I literally was like, haha, what if they're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? Like, just as a joke, because there's 4 of them. I literally only said, oh, because there's 4 of them.
Yeah, and then it turned out that they were.
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, that's kind of cool. Because
they probably didn't even know that they were.
No, probably not. But that's their role.
Yeah.
God-given role. Redmond was Malice. Leonard was leading. He was a coach. Redmond was a construction worker. Sabrina was a nurse. She's like a medicine, right? And then Adrian is nurturing because she can cook. And like food. Take care of
food.
Well, like that's like nurturing, like taking care of someone through food.
She's a chef.
Yeah, she was a chef, and just
what else I thought about?
Crazy. Yeah,
and it's really. Well, I shouldn't say selfish. That's not the right word. But all 4 of them saw the visions, and all 4 of them had to make the same decisions that the family did. They had to decide to murder somebody, to sacrifice themselves, like literally get killed themselves, and do all this to save the world. And so from their perspective, they're probably like, look, I'm choosing to sacrifice myself, and you can't choose to sacrifice someone else. Like, because of you, now I have to die too. You know?
Yeah, because they could have made the decision sooner.
I would have been pissed. I would have been pissed if they weren't believing me and I had to die. Especially first, like Rupert did.
Dude, that poor dude. I thought they were gonna like hurt the people That's how, in a sense, that's how you like believe in them is because they could have easily like tortured them and been like, no, one of y'all has to die, but they didn't touch him. They didn't touch him
because they didn't want to. They didn't want to have
exactly.
to do anything more than they needed.
And last thing I'm gonna say, the whole humanizing thing. Even when they killed each other, the strangers,
Mhm.
every time they all were uneasy and they
Yeah.
hated it. They hated
Even
it.
the leader puked.
He was thrown up. Yeah, they could not handle it. Which
And they
in
were
a way,
because they didn't want to see it, you know.
yeah, which in a way shows that they haven't done it before. It proves you they really haven't done this. They're just normal people
Right.
trying to do what's right for the world.
Going back to a negative, or not a negative, but what I think they should have done is I feel like they should have put all the flashbacks in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
You know, show us that they picked the daughter, they raised it, you know, give us that, and then go over into the cabin, you know,
I could see that. Yeah,
instead of the flashbacks.
I see what they're trying to do. I think they didn't do that because of pacing issues, but yeah, I could see how they would have done that.
So this is, I guess, another weird thing I was thinking about is they made it to the end. They made it to all 4 stages of the apocalypse. Like,
And they still were like, I don't know.
millions of people have died at that point. There's natural disasters all over the world. If that was a thing that everyone has done like throughout centuries, like that's not a reoccurring thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I thought that was weird. Like everyone would have been talking about it. Like, oh, the end of the world again. But everyone acted like it was the first time.
that's what I was going to bring up. Is what was the explanation again for why it's specifically them that they had to? One of them had to die. That specific family. It's just what their vision said. They said whoever's at this cabin.
It's because just a random family has to do it.
That's at the cabin. They did specifically mention the cabin a lot. I will say
because it was. I think it was random. Like that's the point of the thing is you have to pick a random family, and they just happened to be at the cabin, so that's where they went. That's where the vision showed them, because that's where they were.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's all I got. What would you rate this movie? If that's honestly, all you got.
8 out of 10.
Okay. I'd give it I'll go with a 6.5.
Jeez.
No, it's not bad. That's like average. It just didn't do enough for me, I guess. Like I liked it. I did like it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're gonna do okay. Everyone will give his rating at some point, and you'll see it on our average.
It's the average, like a 7.5, 7.25.
Yeah, something like that. More than likely, we're still waiting on Edwards, but yeah, about 7.25. Yeah, you know how to do your math. And on that note, thank y'all so much for watching, whether it be on YouTube or any of our podcast platforms. Make sure you look at the links in the description for all of our social media and our merch store. Still got a lot we're selling right there. And make sure you subscribe. Notifications on, of course. And as always, we will see you next Thursday. Stay ahead and run for us.